Hello, welcome to Lessons Learned. I'm Sherry. This is your Wednesday video, usually a tutorial of types, or it could be a vlog. You just never know. But today we're going to talk about a new project, and the inspiration was from this magazine, American Patchwork and Quilting, which I reviewed on my Monday quilt chat video of this week. And in this, if you saw that video, you saw that I was quite struck by this little apple wall hanging pattern. And I don't know why I don't usually go for food themed quilts, but I just really loved the way this one turned out and the fabric selection that was made on this. It wasn't using any particular type of fabric, like a fabric line. The designer is Charisma Horton. You may have heard of her before, but I just thought this was just adorable and I want to make it. And it's not very big, it's 35.5-inch square. So one of my favorite things to do, one of my favorite things about quilting in general, is picking the fabric. And you know, you can pick a line of fabric to do something and you're never going to go wrong with that, because the decisions have already been made for you, but sometimes they're not. So in this case, I'm going to have to pick my own, from my own stash, from what I already have, which is preferable because most of us have ample stashes of fabric and we need to use the beautiful fabrics that we've chosen already, right? So I wanted to just kind of speak with you a few minutes here about fabric choices and color combinations and different looks that you can get with the same pattern and that sort of thing. So I'm just going to kind of ramble a little bit about that, and hopefully you'll pick up some tips that might help you, or you may have some suggestions for me as well, which you're welcome to put in the comments if you like. So this is from the American Patchwork and Quilting, the August 2024 issue, and I've recently learned that there's a library app called Libby, L-I-B-B-Y. You can download that app, and if your library happens to carry this line of magazines, you might find a copy on there and actually be able to not download a pattern, but you may be able to print it in a roundabout way. I have not tried that yet, but at least you would have the written instructions that you can look right off the magazine. Of course, you can always get a magazine subscription or a digital subscription, which is usually less expensive, and you can still just read the directions and maybe also be able to cleverly print off the directions if you like printed directions in front of you. So today, though, it's about color. And color is one of my favorite things about quilting, as I mentioned. And I just love pulling the fabrics out and trying to figure out what I want to use for a project, how I'm going to make it kind of specific to me, what my tastes are, what my likes are, what shades that I like, opposed to maybe what's presented in the pattern, and that sort of thing. But this one, I really liked it the way it was. It kind of had a little bit of a vintagey look to it, but at the same time modern fabrics were used, and I kind of wanted to get that same sort of look. One thing I really enjoyed about this was the dark reds. Now this is called Red Delicious. So it says, capture a favorite fruit in a wall hanging that features juicy apple blocks and yummy jars of applesauce. Isn't that awesome? So that's what I want. I want a juicy looking apple. But you can see that even in this pattern, they have used polka dot fabric. They've used various prints from all types of different fabric lines. And then with these more solid looking reds, it just really richens it up quite a bit. So I got all of my reds out. And as you can see already, I've already chosen basically, for the most part, what I'm going to use on my wall hanging. But what I did is I got all of my reds out. All of my reds, mostly red and white or red and light There are a few in here that do have some green and some black and maybe even some pink, and these are the ones that I rejected. Let's just go through those. First of all, I knew right away that I wanted to have that kind of vintagey feel. So I took out all of the ones that had a specific theme to them, like this one is a sewing theme, and also had a bright white background. And stripes and plaids I wanted to avoid in this. So that got rid of these. I'll save these for another project and put those back in my red bin. And then these ones I rejected also because, I don't know, different reasons. This one certainly would have worked, but I don't know what that motif is on there. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it fits with apples or not. I'm not sure what that is. So I decided, since I had a doubt about that, I'm just going to go ahead from the beginning and rule this one out. This one also would have been fine on the red front, but it has an awful lot of gold and green in it, which would tie together a lot of the other colors that we're going to be using, green and a kind of a yellowy gold here for the applesauce. That could definitely be one of the sides of the apples. You see the apples have two sides. There's kind of more of a solid looking side, and then a print. And then there's one in here I noticed was all the same. So you can kind of customize that how you want to. You can make all your apples out of the same fabric. You can make each apple solid instead of two sides. So that's a way you can customize it to you too. I just have doubts about this one, so anything I have doubts about, I just put to the side. This one has some pink in it, and it's also a stripe. I didn't really want to work with a stripe on this. Here's another stripe that I have, and it has some black in it. I just don't want to do stripes or diagonals or anything like that. This one is fine for a red apple, but it has that sewing theme on it. I didn't want to throw in another theme besides food. And then this one would work too. And I did pick one similar to it that was a little more dense in color. So I think I'm going to use this one instead of this one. I would use either one of these, but this is the one I decided to choose just because I like the more tan background, and it was a little more denser with the red. So putting that one to the side. So what I ended up with was this one. And then this one is a sewing theme. It has buttons on it, but they're imperceivable as buttons. You have to really look to see that those are buttons on there. And I kind of like the little black spots. Now this one has a nice little tiny floral to it. It is a little bit on the white side, more of an ivory. I think it'll work for the white. And the little flower actually looks kind of like a little apple. See that? So I'm going to use that one. And then I'm going to skip over to this one. I liked this one. I thought it added a lot of interest. It's not pure white. It's a little bit on the ivory side as well. And then here's another one. Now this one does have a tiny bit of pink in it. And there again, there is some white, but it's not striking white. And then there's this one that kind of has that tablecloth picnic blanket look to it. I thought that went with the theme as well. So I'm going to use these. And then these two ruby star ones, one has little black dots in it and one has black and gold. And I thought the gold would be good to pull in with the applesauce piece here. And if I feel like this is not giving me enough variety with the dark sides of the apples, I also have two pieces of shadow play, and these would make great apples. So I'm going to try with one or two of these, maybe one of each of these, and if I feel like I need more deep variety, I'll add these in as well. So these are on the sidelines. Now our greens are the leaves. The leaves above the apples, and then there's a little piece down below in the corner. And in this particular quilt, they used all sorts of different prints for that. And I kind of wanted to go with natural looking prints. So I actually got out from my landscape fabric stash that I have some things that mimic leaves. So that's perfect. Here's a little piece. I could do one in that. That's perfect. Here's another little green piece that would make one like this. Here's one that looks like grass. I don't know if this is a big enough piece, wide enough. I think it probably is. That would work. I love this. It kind of has a little bit of a bluish tone to it, but I think it would be fine. Here's one that's actually a picture of pine trees, but that would make a cute leaf. This one I think I've decided against. It's kind of a tropical look. It has a little bit too much of the blue in it. I probably could fussy cut where the green is only, like in this lower part here, and get it. I'm going to keep this in the wings as well. I'm not sure. So there are my greens. And then also in this pattern you have the applesauce jars. Now the applesauce in the picture is quite tan, kind of going into gold. This is the closest thing I have in my entire stash, and I like it. It's really cute. I just didn't have anything else. Most of the things that was close were too yellow. So I'm going to use this one. I like it fine. Actually, I really like it. So that worked out well. That the only one that was the right color I really like. This is for my lids of my jars. They used kind of a, I don't know, it looks like black with a little dot on it. Not sure. But if you remember, the old canning jars of the past had these steel colored lids to them, so I think that's going to work well for the lids on the 4 big jars. Now on the sashing that you do, I'm going to use, they used a particular print for all of their sashing, and it looks like it is also the thin inner border. They used the same thing. I'm going to go a little bit different with the background than they did. My background is just a little bit brighter. A little bit brighter. So I have this, which is a white on white. It's like a, it's more like a ecru with a white, I don't know if you can see that or not, with a white flower on it. Little tiny white flower, and it just makes a really nice effect. You probably can't tell that. I thought about using this grunge, which would be good. I may still, I don't know. It kind of has a little bit of an orangey peach in it, and you know how grunge can be. They have those little twinges of color in there that may or may not go with what's going on. If it wasn't peach, if it was more of a, maybe a pink, I probably would go for it, but I'm kind of skeptical of that, although I do like that tone. I do like that tone. So instead of making my sashing out of one of these, this will strictly be my background pieces. For my sashings, I pulled out a variety of tans and creams. They're like tonals. So there's one with a butterfly on it. This one has flowers. This one's just kind of modeled. This one has a flower on it. And this one has just like a crosshatch and a dot. So I think I'm going to use those as my sashings, which tells me right now that I need to stick with this, because I don't want my sashings to be lighter than my background. I want them to be kind of shadowy with my background like that. And you can see why here, because that's the way theirs is. So designers who make these patterns up and make their fabric choices, they're good at what they do. So at a minimum, stay within the same tone of the colors that they've chosen, and your project will come out right. It won't come out looking weird or given some secondary pattern that you didn't want or something like that. So if you can stay within the tones that they're using, you'll get the same result. For my back, my border, my wide border, I'm going to use this one. It went well with all of my reds that I have, and it has a little dark leaf in it, and as they did as well, theirs has quite a bit of dark in it, which is different. You know, it's way different than what I'm choosing, but I think I'm going to get the effect that I want to see in my wall hanging. We hope. It's always a gamble. It's an artistic expression of ourselves, that when we go to pick fabric based on what someone else has done, we can try to copy it perfectly, but we can't always. But we can get a pleasing effect with the stash that we have and just kind of making things work. But the important thing is to make sure that once you're all finished, everything is going to look good together. And I don't really see anything here that's not going to look good together. So that's a good indicator right there too. And so the only thing left are the little cornerstones between the sashing, which I'll just use my reds. And then there's a band also on each of the applesauce jars, and I'll just use my reds that I have here for that too. So today, after having said all of that, I'm going to cut out enough for at least one apple and one jar, so that we can see what those blocks will turn out to look like. So let's see, I think probably to start out, I definitely want to use one of these Ruby Star ones for 1/2. And then maybe, let's see what would go good with that. Let's do this one, or maybe this one. Let's do this one. This will be fun. So I'm going to iron these two fabrics for my apple, our apple halves. And then I need to pick a green for my leaves. Let's do that too. How about, I might want to do a little bit of a darker one for this one and not as busy. How about this one? That might be good too. One of these dark ones. Let's try this one. So I'm going to go this route first, and this will kind of orient me as to how I want to combine my colors going forward. But I'm going to iron these and cut out the amount that I need for one block. And I'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute. Now, I can't tell you the measurements of the pieces. You'll have to get the magazine in whatever form you can get it in. You can also get this on newsstands from, you know, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, even Joann's probably has it. You can buy it that way, or like I said, you can just go to American Patchwork and Quilting and get a digital subscription, and that way you'll always get this wonderful magazine. It's my favorite. Okay, so I have the two different blocks that are in the wall hanging made. So they're kind of test blocks. It's always good to do a test block. I rarely change my mind, but it can happen. And it helps you get an idea of how these blocks are going to go together before you just start chain piecing and maybe do something the wrong direction or something like that. So I always like to do one of each different block in the project. In this case there's 2 blocks, sometimes it's just 1. You only have to make 1 block, but here we are. I've got my apple block done, and I think it turned out cute. And then also the applesauce jar. I really like the color that it is. I really think that was a good choice on the color. So, and it's a good thing that I had that, because that was the only thing that was that color in this room. So I cut out some sashing strips just to see too, just to give myself one last chance to change my mind on anything, just to see how this is going to go together. So I'm just going to place these here just to kind of randomly put them here so we can see how this is going to possibly look all together. It's always a good thing to do. And put that one there. And you see I'm using 6 different prints on this. And I wanted to do that to create some texture. They're all the same color family, so they're not clashing with each other really. They just have those little subtle print changes. And then here are my cornerstones that will be going in. Let's see, let's put this one here, I guess. I'm trying to spread them out evenly with their different tones. So that's basically what mine's gonna look like. I've got the whiter background. It is kind of an ivory. It shows up pretty white once I put these tans on here, but I think it's gonna be good. So that is what it's gonna look like. Now I can go through and cut out all of my pieces that I need and have those ready so that I can just sew these blocks up right quick. These blocks right here, just inside here, are only 6.5, so it is a small wall hanging. It will be small, 35.5 by 35.5, so it won't take long to do. And we'll have a nice little late summer, early fall piece to hang in our kitchens or pantries or wherever you have space in your room to display some summer into fall decor. So next week we'll come back with a part 2, and I'll have my top sewn together, and maybe we can also long arm it and bind it, and we'll have a finished little project here for our part 2. So thanks for hanging out with me today as I do this project. I hope you decide to do it too. And yeah, we can kind of compare and see how everybody's turned out based on how you choose fabric. So I hope some of the things that I spoke of will help you to determine what to use, and you can finish this project along with me. Alright, thanks again, and we'll see you soon. Bye.